Okay, so I've taken the buttons off of the bottom that just popped off. I've taken the buttons off the left and the buttons on the right with the rods that slide out. I'm avoiding dealing with this, and probably will have to in a minute. Then there's this little guy up here. Now what differs about this wheel versus the original 911 wheel that I had is there's this pairing button here, in addition to the button over here that did your tuning and settings and things like that. Sorry, we're getting a little glare off there. This is part of the same circuit board. It's all attached, and I was pleased to see. So if I move this to the other wheel, I should be able to get these features with it, I would think, since we're really just changing rims at this point. So this plastic little trim piece here just pulls out from the bottom, and then you can see that the LED display and the buttons, there's a little daughter card here or something where these two are attached, and this is all part of the same circuit board. There's two additional screws here and here that are holding that in place. I've already unfastened a screw there. Let me back out. A screw there and a matching one over here. There's nothing at the bottom. There is this little rod that's sticking up that's attached to the rim that's holding it in place, so it looks like it's going to be fairly precarious to pull this out. Not sure how that's going to work yet, but we'll give it a shot in a minute. So I'm going to undo these two screws, and then we'll try to pull this out, and then I'm going to have to do the same procedure over here on this wheel. So okay, let me show you where we're at. I've left this connected for now. It really seems to be glued in here pretty well. I've given myself as much slack as I can. As you can see, I've disconnected all the screws. There were two at the top here that were connected there. There were two over here on the circuit boards. Down at the bottom, this was tricky. I wish I'd have filmed this, sorry, but I'll try to film it when I do the second wheel. There is a piece that sticks up here, and then there is this piece. I don't know how well this is going to come through on the camera, but there's a little black nub that's right there, and then there's this black piece right here that sticks up, and they're attached to the frame of the wheel. The circuit board, if you see it, is notched down here, which catches this, and then there's also a hole in the circuit board, which is right now kind of hidden behind this bar. The hole's right in there. That actually sits on the nub itself and kind of traps the circuit board in place. It pops on, and then this traps it down at this notch. So the way I was able to get this loose very carefully, first of all, I disconnected the two, I think these are the vibration motors, in the rim of the wheel. There's one here and one here. And they attached the circuit board there. Fortunately, they weren't, or there. Fortunately, they weren't glued, so they just popped off. So back to this. What I was able to do was take two flathead small screwdrivers and place them about in this position and the same thing on this side, and kind of pry this up very gently so that it popped off of this nub that's here, and was free to then slide up. It was also tight around here, so I had to get it over, and I didn't want to damage the circuit board, so it was a little precarious. I couldn't do that while filming at the same time, so I'll try to set it up with a fixed camera shot for the second wheel. But now where I'm at is I have this thing loose. The problem now is if you look down here underneath, there's not very much room in this area right here to slide the circuit board out from under, and I've got these two LEDs that are sticking up. So what I think I'm going to have to do is kind of what I've done, which is, sorry the camera's jumping around so much, wedge the circuit board in here and kind of push down as far as it'll go, and then try to slide it under, sort of under the bridge there, and hopefully up. And hopefully I have enough slack on this cable, so if I can just clear that, the whole thing will be free, and I can pull the wheel out from behind, and then I won't have to disconnect the cable. I can pull the rim away. So see if I can do that. Okay, so it looks like good news. I was able to lay this thing flat down in this channel here, slide it this direction, so that now, set the wheel down so I have a hand to work with here. So now, I believe, yep, the circuit board is free. So we have the circuit board still connected, but free of the rim. So now I should be able to pull the rim off the hub. Hopefully I have enough room here. I should have probably started with this whole thing off the hub. but I can slide it off the hub slightly and pull the rim out from behind and then replace this circuit board in this wheel. So I'm going to attempt that now. Of course, now's when I realize, that this cable is actually running through the hub itself and not separate from the hub, so there's not going to be a way for me to remove this rim from behind. Even though the circuit board's totally free now, I'm not going to be able to replace the rims unless I get this connector off. So I'm going to, now at least I can get to the front and back side of the connector now that the board's loose, and I'm going to try very carefully to get that off without damaging anything. Okay, I'm back. Still having difficulty with this connector here. It's glued on really well, and I'm going to try to see if there's maybe another alternative. I don't know where that connector connects inside the base, but I know I want to take the base cover off anyway because I want to swap it with the one that's on the other wheel, the orange one, and put it on the final wheel. So let's take a look and see what's inside here, and maybe there's another way I can disconnect that cable from inside the wheel instead of messing with that more, because I started to pull on it more and it looked like it was actually starting to come off of the circuit board side instead of the connector side, and I don't want to risk that with this brand new wheel. So to get the cover off, there are 5 hex connectors that are inside. Here's 1, 2, 3, and these I found out yesterday are actually a different size than the other 2, which are a little bit larger. You can see opening and much deeper in. That's this and this. So I had originally had a hex key set that was the folding kind, and found out that they weren't long enough to reach down in here. So trip to Home Depot, and this was the one that I picked here. I'm not endorsing anything in particular, but basically it's just a metric 13-piece set, but as you can see, the wrenches are longer than a lot of the ones that are standard. So the smaller ones down here are 2.5 and the larger ones are 3. So I've gotten the 2 tools out here, and I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically these go in fairly far, and you go ahead and loosen these 3 up, and then with the other wrench these go way down in and loosen those 2 up. So I'll go ahead and take care of that and see what's inside this wheel. Okay, a couple of points. First of all, when I said earlier that I had a hex wrench that was not as long as this and therefore wouldn't fit in those other holes, I was talking about one like these, one of the standard ones. When I unfolded it, it just was barely, just not quite long enough. So I've gotten the cover off. We undid those 5 hexes underneath, and what I forgot was there's also one connection at the very top of the wheel. If you notice here, again, apologize for the poor camera work, there is a hole here. I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but at the top of the wheel there are like 4 or 5 screw holes down here. I'm not sure what these ones do, but this one right here, I couldn't get the cover off until I extracted that, and once I did, I'm able to get the cover off of the wheel. So this is the inside of the wheel, my first look at it as well, and wow, that's a pretty beefy looking motor. And there's your belt drive. This looks really solid. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is the connector, and of course it's got the glue on it again. Awesome. Alright, well, I'm gonna have to work on that and see if I can get this one loose any easier than the one inside the wheel. Then maybe I can thread it up this way. But that looks like kind of a pain. So, boy, I don't know. I'm gonna have to, might have to write Thomas a tech support here and ask him, or Armin or Thomas, and see what they think about the best way to do this. Because what I don't want to do is damage this when I'm pulling it out.